Good morning to fans of the Los Angeles Lakers and only fans of the Los Angeles Lakers. Welcome to the Laker Central podcast. I'm your host, Alex. Please follow me on social media at Laker Central 365 and tell every Laker fan about this podcast. Today, Vinay is back with us. What's up, man? What's going on?
Good morning, Alex. We have not one, not two, not three, but we have 4 winning streaks for the Lakers. And I just watched the Lakers without LeBron James and Anthony Davis run roughshod on the OKC Thunder, who just recently blasted the Houston Rockets. So I'm in pretty high spirits. And from our last podcast that we were both on, we had both mentioned how Alex Caruso needs to get up higher in the All-Star rankings. And lo and behold, this week, Alex Caruso is moving up the ranks for the Western Conference All-Stars. And I don't know if you've seen it, but people are really mad about that. And we just got to keep doing it. We got to get them to the top. We got to get them into the game.
If Caruso makes the All-Star team, I can't imagine the pandemonium for Lakers fans and Lakers haters. It'll be nuts, man.
They're gonna change the system. They're gonna take away the votes for the fans, and it's gonna be Alex Caruso's fault. And you know why? It's because he's bald and he's white, and he's got bald privilege, and it's unacceptable. Nobody that bald and that white should be in the All-Star game.
Tell everybody where they can find you, man.
Hell, you can find me on Twitter at vkillem, VKILLEM. That's pretty much where I'm at. So if you want to engage or follow me and chat about the Lakers, you can find me there.
Cool. Well, look, as you mentioned, we did an episode last week and we talked about the point guard options available to the Lakers. So this week we're going to talk about the wing options available to upgrade the roster. But before we do that, Vinay, how impressed are you with the win over OKC without LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Danny Green?
Well, that game, I know a lot of folks are thinking that it was probably going to be a scheduled loss. And I mean, even for me to some degree, I was like, all right, OKC's streaking. They've had, some days off. Obviously Chris Paul is like refound. He's having like a renaissance year, and all the people who had sort of dismissed him from the playoffs last year are kind of biting their tongues right now. And, obviously without LeBron and without AD, I didn't know, I had a feeling that like maybe Kuzma may have a better game. But the defensive effort last night, the defensive effort on Saturday night was incredible. From the jump, just like the Dallas game, the Lakers were just swarming everything. They were swarming every layup. They were swarming every three. And it felt like, these last 2 games, especially after the Knicks game, it feels like the Lakers have become more tough. And they're really tough on the defensive end. And they're doing it from like the get-go. And what it's doing, it's really taking people out of rhythm. It's taking the opposing team out of rhythm. We saw Doncic get frustrated in that Dallas game. And, in the OKC game, you just see guys bricking threes. And OKC is a pretty decent 3-point shooting team. And they're deadly with their 3-point guard lineup that they like to run. Yep. And, I have to give my hats off, aside from the player performance, which was incredible. Rondo has played his butt off the past 2 games. And Kuzma has played incredible in the past 2 games. I have to give my credit to the coaching staff. It feels like as these like the 3rd game of the series or 4th game of the series comes up, it feels like the Lakers have effectively like scouted out what the other team really wants to do or likes to do, and they learn from their mistakes and they're just ready. The preparations, like it's so refreshing to see this team defensively prepared the way it is.
Man, look, I can't agree with you more about that game. I was watching it on my phone. I was at a friend's house and they were watching the Ravens game. And for all the listeners out there, I'm an East Coast guy. I'm in Maryland, and I don't like the Ravens at all. So it's just not what I do. So I was streaming the Lakers game on my phone, and I'm thinking, all right, no LeBron, no Anthony Davis, no Danny Green. This was going to be a loss, but it was still going to be an opportunity for Kuzma to show his worth for this team. And they jumped out to a 41-19 lead in the first. And I'm like, okay.
That was sorry to interject, but I mean, that was crazy. It's just, I was like, all right, yeah, maybe I thought they're shooting way above their heads. I was just like, there's, a lot of energy. They're probably like really, they really want to prove to everybody that it's not just Anthony Davis and LeBron. But to put up 40 on OKC in the first quarter is pretty. I mean, that's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, it was extremely impressive, man. And they pulled this one out. I mean, OKC had won eight of their last 10 games. They were streaking, and for this Lakers team to come in, take them seriously, and to shoot the way that they did, excuse me, to play the way that they did. We get on Rondo a lot, but Rondo had 21 points, 8 assists, and 10 rebounds, and he was a plus 14. I mean,
he played out. He played out of his mind. He was taking some layups. I was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And he made them. So I mean, I can't. Like I said, I think we said this on a podcast like way earlier in the season that if Rondo, is making his layups and he's aggressive when teams are kind of laying off of him and he's making them pay for laying off of them, even if it's like just 2 or 3 layups a game, it changes how the defense like respects him. It opens up lanes for the rest of the guys. Some defenders will kind of slide in a little bit more. They'll take one more step in, which opens up the threes for the rest of the Lakers. It makes a massive difference to the Lakers, especially their bench offense, when Rondo is aggressive but making his layups. Like he's not like just taking terrible layups and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's 2 games in a row. He did this in Dallas also. He did this. I want to say that last game at Portland, he was aggressive going to the rim, and so it's like night and day. I tweeted it out after the game, but it legit feels like night and day for that bench offense. And aside from that, look at how Vogel was kind of forced to feed Kuzma looks. He was getting him on rub cuts. He was getting him in isolation. He let Kuzma play pick and roll with Dwight Howard and JaVale and stuff like that. So it's just the scoring is there. The ability is there. He's just got to get more looks. That's all it is.
Hey, Laker fans, whether you're an athlete, a weekend warrior, or someone who deals with constant joint pain, back pain, muscle soreness, or arthritis, finding a natural remedy that instantly works might seem non-existent. Most over-the-counter pain relievers such as Icy Hot and Bengay only focus on one basic cooling effect which temporarily takes your mind off of the pain until the pain returns in an hour or so. If you're looking to get rid of nagging muscle pain and joint pain immediately while providing long-lasting recovery, then you need to try the natural breakthrough pain relief solution CryoFreeze CBD, developed by Omax Health. This non-prescription, triple-action pain relief roll-on is specifically formulated to block pain receptors, reduce inflammation, and improve muscle and joint flexibility. The best part is, this natural 100% CBD powered remedy works its magic within 10 minutes of application, and relief lasts up to 8 hours, much longer than the over-the-counter products. It's super easy to throw in your gym bag and take on the go for emergency pain relief. Simply roll it over where it hurts and ice out the pain with an Arctic blast. Omax Health is offering my listeners 20% off a full bottle of CryoFreeze Pain Relief Roll-On, plus free shipping. This discount also applies towards any product site-wide. Just go to omaxhealth.com today and enter code OVERTIME to take advantage of this incredible savings. That's omaxhealth.com, enter code OVERTIME to get 20% off CryoFreeze site-wide. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. I mean, I'm really pleased at how Kuz played. In that game, he had 36 points, 7 rebounds. He was a plus 20. And Kuz, I think, needs to be a high usage guy to be as effective as I think his potential will allow. And in these last couple games, he's gotten the opportunity to do what he needed to do and showcase himself. And so to have 36 points against a really good OKC team, but then the night before, on Friday night, national TV game, ESPN against Dallas. I know Porzingis wasn't there, but they still had Doncic. All the trade rumors, everybody was going to be looking at Kuz because Anthony Davis was out, and he performed. So, I'm so happy that he stepped up, and regardless if he stays with the team or not, I'm just happy to see him have some success.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think, I think this season everybody has sort of looked at Kuzma, and he set these expectations for himself. So I'm not going to just say that, it's just been Kuzma by himself and people are unfairly piling onto him. To some degree, he's put some of that pressure on himself, talking about how he can be the third guy for the Lakers and whatnot. But I posted this, I want to say a couple days ago, that when he gets at least 10 shots 10
Mhm.
shots a game. He's averaging, around 17, 18 points a game, which is right about where his normal like year to year average is. And he's shooting pretty well. And as of yesterday, or you know, including yesterday's or Saturday's game, um, since he's come back from injury, he's averaging right about like 18 points a game. And then basically in all three road games that the Lakers have played, which is OKC, Dallas, and in Portland, he's averaging 28 points a game. So he's showing up for the road games, like in the hostile environment games. So, like this idea, and obviously against the Clippers on Christmas Day, he led the team in
Mhm.
scoring. He put up 25. So a lot of times we're talking about Danny Green is like a streaky vet, right? Like he'll have games where he just shoots really poorly, but everybody tells us that when the playoffs come around, Danny Green shows up. He's like super sharp when he comes to his defense, and he makes huge shots and clutch shots and that sort of stuff. Kuzma has started to fall into that mold to some degree as well. What's happening is whenever these big games show up, he's lighting it up. He's
Mhm.
making his shots. And it's not to say that he hasn't had games where he hasn't scored well. He definitely has. But you can tell compared to like maybe the first 10 games or 15 games of the season compared to now, there's a different level of confidence that he's been playing
Yeah.
with. And I feel as though the only thing that's holding him back, and when I say holding him back, I don't mean like the coaching staff is dropping the ball. I think it's more like the coaching staff needs to adjust just kind of what the offensive priority is. But I think the only reason he isn't doing more is because the coaching staff isn't dedicating looks to him more. And this is sort of an issue that the Golden State Warriors had figured out pretty well when it came to like Clay, Steph, and Kevin Durant. And I think one of the things that Vogel is going to have to do moving forward is he's going to have to let the players on the team know that you don't have to go to Anthony Davis every single time or
Right.
look for Anthony Davis every single time when LeBron isn't on the court. You've got these other guys out here who can score, who are willing to attack the rim. Bradley was attacking the rim. Caruso has been attacking the rim. Even Pope, like as these teams are trying to run the Lakers off the line, these guys are going right to the rim for layups.
Mhm.
And you can see that if you give Kuzma enough looks, because he is a rhythm player. He's not Clay. He's not gonna like be cool with 10 shots and still put up like 25 without
Right.
dribbling the ball. He needs the ball in his hand. If you get him looks, good things will happen. And if anything else, um, as the topic of load management continues to be a current, I don't know why it still is, but it's still a theme here in January. That's the best form of load management for the Lakers. If you have a third guy doing all the scoring, then Anthony Davis can just chill when he's on the court and just focus on defense
Mhm.
and just kind of save his energy. And so can LeBron. So uh, I hope these last two games have kind of opened up not only Laker fans' eyes as to the potential that Kuzma has as a player, but I hope it's opened up the coaching staff's eyes and the
Yeah.
rest of his teammates' eyes that get this guy the ball and good things will happen. And if it starts going the other way, then you already know what you got to do. Give it to Braun, give it to AD, get out the way, that sort of thing.
I agree, and I think with Kuz, all the trade rumors, has been up and down this year coming off that injury. He's performing right now, at least in the last couple games. And to your point, his scoring post injury is back up to 18 points, which is where he was at last season, roughly. And so I'm hoping that he's showing a lot of fans that he has value. And so we're going to jump into our conversation about which wings the Lakers could target to help improve the team. And so what I'm going to do is take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with Lakers Central. Welcome back to Lakers Central. I'm your host, Alex. Our guy Vinay is back on the pod with us, and we were just talking about Kyle Kuzma and seeing his progression and him improve this season. But the Lakers still need another guy, specifically a 3-and-D guy. They need a guy that can guard some of the wings that we're likely going to see in the playoffs and potentially in the finals. So we have a couple names we're going to go over. And the first one I'm going to throw at you, Vinay, is Robert Covington. And I see a lot of let's go get Rocco. Let's get Rocco. I see a lot of that on my timeline. But what are your thoughts on Robert Covington? And is it even reasonable to give up a Kyle Kuzma or whatever we may have to give up to go get Robert Covington?
Yeah, so Covington is a good player. He fits the mold of a 3 and D guy, a big 3 and D guy that the Lakers would want. So Covington would get matched up against guys like Paul George, maybe even Kawhi Leonard. He'd probably get matched up against Harden, or like typically what teams like to do is, and this is across the league. It's not exclusive to specific leagues, just the Lakers. Is when you have a guy who's leagues will either use a defense will use a smaller guy or a bigger guy when it comes to defending like the most prolific players, depending on play style. So what does that mean? That sounds like a lot. So what does that mean? I'll give you an example. So when you look at a guy like Luka Doncic, he's a big ball handler and he's smart. He knows how to find his guys and kick the ball out when he drives to the rim or when he uses pick and roll. However, he's probably more finesse than he is athletic. He's really sneaky when it comes to drawing fouls, and he has a good touch on his floater and that sort of thing. But he's not going to athletically overwhelm you. So what the Lakers like to do against a guy like him is that they like to use somebody who's a little bit smaller but very athletic, so you can get right into his space. With like a lower center of gravity, that sort of thing. That's one way of defending a guy like Luka Doncic. Now, if Luka Doncic was more athletic, let's say like James Harden, right? If he's more athletic and he can get to the rim, you're not going to be defending him with a smaller guy because that athleticism advantage gets negated by the
Right.
fact that he's defending a bigger guy. So that's when you use a guy like Robert Covington to defend a guy like James Harden. For the Lakers, we would use somebody like Danny Green because Danny Green
Hmm.
has the athleticism, he has the physicality, that sort of thing. So when we talk about getting a 3 and D guy, we're talking about a guy who's more physically equipped like Danny Green is. So it's not just a big guy, right? We need
Right.
a big guy who's also athletic because as we've seen, the one thing that the Lakers want to do defensively, and it seems to be kind of what we hang our hats on, is we don't want to give up any layups. We don't want to give up any close range shots. We want to keep everything as far out of the painted area as possible.
Yep.
And so, um, as we go through like this list of players, that's when we talk about big wings. We're talking about the guys that are in the mold of Danny Green. So Robert Covington fits that. He fits that mold of a big wing who is also 3 and D, who can defend guys like that. And it's not that the Lakers don't have people that can defend, the Luka Doncic's and the James Hardens and the Paul Georges. We know that we have the guys to do that. It's always just better to have another guy because, like we saw, like the past 2 games, sometimes the refs get super foul happy and like they'll just start fouling out our guys like they'll call fouls on everything. Like we were playing without a center in that Dallas game for like the entire fourth quarter. So it's always better to just have somebody in the coffer in the background in
Yep.
case we need them. So Covington fits that profile. The only problem I have is I believe he makes 11 million this year, and if Minnesota is going to ask for Kuzma, I don't know if that's worth it. I don't know. Covington doesn't really create his own shot. He is definitely a much better defender, but I feel as though what's kind of hurt the Lakers
Yeah.
is not that they haven't had enough defense. It's that there have been times in these losses where they haven't like had enough shooting or had enough offense. So I'd love to add a guy like that. He's definitely a good option for the Lakers, but I think his salary number makes it a little difficult for us to go after something like him, especially if they ask for Kuzma in return.
Yeah, I agree. I think if there was a way to get Covington and not have to trade Kuzma, Covington absolutely makes this team even better. And he's someone you can
Mm-hmm.
deploy on some of these other wings. As you mentioned, Danny Green's one of our primary wing defenders. KCP has been way better this season than I think anybody expected. So he's
Mm-hmm.
that's a net positive. Avery Bradley has returned to form. Um,
Yep. Caruso has stepped it up
right.
in his role.
And you don't LeBron is already doing so much of the heavy lifting that you don't want
Mm-hmm.
LeBron to have to chase these big wings around. Now, Anthony
Mm-hmm.
Davis, a lot of people might not realize this, but he's really good at guarding wings. He's put a lot of
Yeah.
pressure on Kawhi. He can guard Paul George, obviously Giannis, who's even bigger than they are. But Covington would just be someone else that we could deploy. The issue is going to
Yep.
be, to your point, that $11 million salary this year, 12 next year, 13 and 21, 22. The Lakers don't want to do anything that could hurt their 2021 free agency chances. Now,
Yep.
I do believe that if we traded for Covington, we could probably still move him later on down the road if we wanted to.
Hmm.
But at this point, I'm not giving up Kyle Kuzma for Robert Covington. And even to make the math work, you'd have to probably give up 2 more players also. So it's just, I'm not doing that. But who really knows what Minnesota would want in return anyway?
Yeah, they're in a strange
Yeah.
position right now. There I think there was high aspirations, especially
Mhm.
after Flip's son, who's the current coach, Ryan. They had a pretty decent, they had a decent season, I would say, last year, and there's something to build on. But it just hasn't gone too well. I've actually been able to catch some of their games, and the kid that they I don't think they drafted, but they on draft day they traded for. I can't remember what it was. Jarrett Culver.
Mhm.
That guy needs to get more minutes. He's much better. Like he's ready to play, and they've been giving him more minutes. But at the same time, it's difficult. When you're losing games to figure
Yeah.
out what's going on with that team. So it's going to be a matter of them figuring out what they want. They may I don't think they'll rebuild, but if they start moving on from some of these guys, Jeff Teague is expiring, that sort of thing, they may consider, bottoming out and looking for that point guard of the future for them. Now that they have Culver, Wiggins, Carl Anthony Towns, they have Covington, so like they really kind of need that point guard that's going to help get them to the next level. So I think we're gonna, as it gets closer to trade deadline, we're gonna see kind of what direction that team goes in. If they start kind of bottoming out, trying to get a higher lottery pick or something.
Yeah, I agree. Now, somebody I think that is way more obtainable is Markeith Morris. And while a lot of people are talking about his brother Marcus over in New York, Marcus makes $15 million this season. There's just no way to make the math work unless the Lakers give up someone like a Danny Green, which they're not going to do, or KCP,
Right.
which he has a de facto no trade clause and he's a clutch client. So I think Marcus is off the table, but Markeith, he makes 3.3 million this year. And the thing that's jumping out with me, with him on Detroit, he's shooting 40% from three on 4 attempts a game. And
Hmm.
I'd love to add some more shooting. But Vinay, from a defensive standpoint, is he a solid, defensive player?
So he's cut from the same cloth as his brother.
Okay.
He's a physical guy. He has sort of that. How people keep saying like, Lakers. Uh, I don't like talking about the Clippers, but for the sake of the comparison, because this is all I hear. So the Clippers got a bunch of dogs
Yeah.
on their team and stuff like that. These guys who fight. Marquis fits that personality profile, right? Like we have our tough guys like Dwight, and we have technically Rondo is one of our tough
Yeah.
guys, and we have Dudley, but Dudley's a little more nice.
Yeah.
I would say he's a little more friendly than uh, the Morris brothers, and so when it comes to the sort of mental makeup or personality makeup of Markeith, he fits kind of the same mold as Marcus. Marcus is the better offensive talent, which is why he's obviously making more money. But defensively, they have the same kind of acumen. And so Markeith is actually the one that I've been the highest on
Mm.
out of the entire group, mainly because his contract is super cheap. He could actually either get bought out if he wanted to get bought out and go to a contender, so Lakers wouldn't have to give anything up at all, or the Lakers could trade any minimum contract on the books
Hmm.
to get him. And the other reason why I'm very high up on him is because of what's gone on with Detroit. A lot of rumors have been out there that Detroit is shopping Drummond, and they're confident that they're going to move Drummond before the trade deadline because apparently Drummond's going to opt out. The rumor is that he's going to allegedly opt out of his player option. And then Detroit just applied for the disabled player exception for Blake Griffin,
Yeah.
which means that they expect him to most likely be out for the rest of the season. So, and Detroit has kind of moved towards that that next look. So they've been playing Luke Kennard a lot. They have a couple G League guy, or they have a G League guy in Christian Wood that they've been playing a lot. So they're kind of moving more towards the new analytics friendly offense,
Yeah.
less isolations, more pick and roll, kick out for threes, that sort of thing. So it you could tell that they're kind of looking forward. They're not just trying to like bash themselves over the head, try to get into the playoffs. So considering that, and considering the fact that I think Markeith has uh, gotten a bunch of DNPs, over the last, like, I would say last 10 or 12 games.
Mm.
So he was actually playing serious minutes. And then at some point they just stopped playing him. So I think he's out of the main rotation or like their future rotation moving forward. I think he's available. And I think he, like the Darren Collison example, he's a very inexpensive to no cost addition that the Lakers can bring on for that situation. And so I like him. It's inexpensive. I'm sure that Rich Paul probably still has some connections to the Morris brothers. And if Rob needed him to reach out and talk to Morris, or if we needed to have the lines of communication there, I'm sure they could figure it out.
I didn't realize that he had not played in a bunch of games recently, and I'm looking at his game log. He was inactive in 6 of the last 7 games, and it got a DNP in his last game. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, that if I'm looking at this objectively, it tells me, all right, is something going on in Detroit? Is he being mentioned in trade talks kind of behind the scenes, and maybe they don't want him to get hurt? But his contract is so low. I do think that he's a good player. He's someone that I would absolutely target if I'm Rob Pelinka. And Pelinka's a smart guy. He did just effectively get a promotion. I have to think that he's inquired about this guy, given how low his contract is and how well he shoots and the kind of player that he is. But if we could get Markieff Morris for, say, Quinn Cook or Daniels or something like that, and then still add Collison from the buyout market or from retirement, I think that's enough, don't you think?
Yeah, so he fits the profile of that big wing defender that we want. So I'll make this even more, give like really simple simple explanation of what we need out of this big wing guy. So we've been talking about the 3-and-D part and the guy to defend the James Hardens. We could sort of just keep it straightforward for all the fans that listen to your podcast. We need a guy to defend Kawhi Leonard. Not that we don't have a guy that can help slow him down. We just need somebody other than Anthony Davis or other than Danny Green or other than LeBron to defend Kawhi Leonard. Not because we need it, but because it's always good to have a guy that can do that and to add an extra body, because we can't put Troy Daniels on him and we can't put Quinn Cook on him. And if they're just going to be the 14th and 15th guy on the roster, we might as well try and swap one of those guys out for somebody who's more physically equipped to do that. So that's why Markieff is a good example. Now, what are the 3 ways that Kawhi Leonard likes to score? I haven't pulled the exact numbers in regards to this, so this is just based on my eyeballs watching him play. There's 3 ways that he likes to score. One is that he likes to use the pick and roll, which is what the Clippers use with Zubac or with Montrezl Harrell. He likes to use a pick and roll to get in the mid-range area and then get his shot off. Because of his knee situation, he likes to take his pull-up mid-range shots. He likes to take them close enough where he doesn't really have to use his legs to shoot the ball. Yep. It's like all upper body with him pretty much, right? The second way that he likes to score is he likes to get the ball on the low block. So similar to like what the Lakers do with LeBron, but you see LeBron kicking out for threes all the time. He likes to do the same exact thing. If there's any Clipper fans that are listening to this podcast, which there very may well be, this is the same kind of set that they used to run for Blake Griffin. They used to get him on the low block and have him just kind of bully the guy to the rim to get a shot off. And Blake was good at it. Sometimes he wasn't. But Kawhi does the same thing. And the third way that Kawhi likes to score is if teams switch, Kawhi likes to try and bring the big guy out. If it's like a big on small switch with Kawhi, he likes to work guys in isolation like that. So those are typically the 3 ways that he likes to score. And in reality, whatever big wing the Lakers get, we don't need them to like be super excellent pick and roll defenders, because I think when the crunch time comes, the guy that, the Lakers probably just going to switch that anyways. And the guy that's going to get switched on to Kawhi is going to be like Anthony Davis or something like that. But the main concern, the main offensive play type defense that we need is that low block defender. Because I think what happens is, and we've seen this happen to KCP, when Kawhi gets the low block on a smaller guy, it's like guaranteed he's going to make a layup or he's going to make that shot because he gets so close to the rim. And we need a guy who can kind of be physical with him in that regards. So the guys like Covington, a guy like Markieff Morris, who has that physical personality and that kind of dog mentality, he fits that profile. So if Kawhi's trying to get to that low block position, that's a guy that I would expect to like kind of wrestle with Kawhi
Right.
and try to push him out of his regular spots. If anybody's watched the Clippers Rockets matchup, that's what PJ Tucker does to Kawhi. Like he'll wrestle him the entire game. He'll never let him get comfortable and get to the spots that he wants to get to. And that's why Houston's done so well against him. Or they've beaten the Clippers I think twice now already.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what we need. We just need somebody who can help us with that. And then if in the last 5 minutes of the game it's Anthony Davis putting
Right.
on him, that's great. But that's kind of the profile that I'm looking for. So Morris fits that to a T. A physical guy who will wrestle and fight you to your spots.
I like Morris, and I really like the contract number that he's at. So he's someone that I'm keeping an eye on going into the trade deadline. Now, you talked about kind of wrestling Kawhi and not letting him get to his spots. Jay Crowder is another guy from Memphis that I have on my list. He makes $7 million, and probably for me with him, 6'6", 235, strong guy. He's another guy that would wrestle Kawhi.
Yep, he's another guy, and Lakers fans will be familiar with Crowder because usually Crowder is the guy who gets matched up on LeBron. It's probably the easiest way to describe it is whoever's decent against LeBron in being physical against him and kind of preventing LeBron from scoring the way that he does is probably also a good matchup for Kawhi because they actually use the same. Surprisingly, LeBron and Kawhi have very similar scoring style choices in how they like to operate. The main difference between LeBron and Kawhi is LeBron is probably one of the greatest passers of all time. Yeah. So he doesn't look to shoot as much as maybe Kawhi does, which is fine because that's the offense that the Clippers want to run. But as a sidebar, I know the 2 weeks ago, prior to the whole Kuzma trade rumor and stuff like that, there was a thing with his trainer, and where his trainer was talking about Kawhi sharp and he does a good job constantly improving his game. I don't know if anybody watched the Dallas game. Laker fans watched the Dallas game and saw how LeBron was scoring that game. He was scoring all in the mid-range. He had a couple of threes, but it was all mid-range. It was all at the rim. It was all footwork. It was all the same stuff that people keep championing Kawhi for over LeBron. And it's not that LeBron can't do it. It's that he's keeping his teammates involved. And so if he has to do it, he will. But obviously, it's about the team. And sorry, the reason why I mentioned that sidebar is because I just think it's funny. They're actually much more similar in their offensive play styles. Yeah. It's just that one guy's not LeBron, and I think people just kind of if you're not LeBron, people automatically will say that you're better than LeBron or whatever when you're good at one specific thing. So back to what we were talking about. Crowder is exactly that. Just like Markieff, just like Covington. I agree with you. He's a physical guy. He doesn't like letting guys get to their spots. Again, he falls into the same mold as a guy like PJ Tucker. So he's also, I agree. At that number, Lakers only have to send 2 minimum contracts to get him.
They could get him for Daniels and Cook, and it him. And I haven't watched a whole lot of Crowder this year in Memphis, but I know when he was in Boston, you talked about the Clippers having dogs. He was a dog in Boston.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
He's somebody that you can put on those wings, even on some of the guards out there, and he's going to wrestle them all day long. So, Lakers fans want Andre Iguodala. That doesn't look like it's going to happen. So,
yeah, unless he forces a buyout. Right. And look, out of all of these guys, again, I always like the free option, the free to low cost option when it comes to this. So Darren Collison for the backup point guard role is free. So if we can get him for free, great. Andre Iguodala, if he gets bought out, is basically a free option for the Lakers as well. So if we can get him, great. Both of those guys skyrocket to the top of our list for both of those roles. But yeah, at the same time, we have to, I feel as though the chemistry is really important to this roster. Yeah. And I feel like Rob has, we didn't mention it yet on the podcast. I think you mentioned it on your previous one, but Rob just got announced as the, the VP of basketball operations. I think him managing the chemistry of the locker room, considering some of the small and things that have happened, DeMarcus Cousins situation, the Kuzma trade rumors, all that sort of stuff. I think chemistry is really important to the Lakers, and I don't know how they feel about that 14th and 15th guy on that roster, and how Rob feels about basically when I say 14th, 15th guy, I'm talking about Cook and Daniels. They played really well in OKC. But I don't know. They almost never get playing time, and they're very situational in their play. So um, I wouldn't be surprised if Rob, made a move for a guy like Morris or Crowder or Iguodala if the time came, and try to keep a good relationship with whichever player is kind of cut from the team. But you know, if we can get them, great. These guys so far are great options: Covington, Morris, Crowder, Iguodala, and then I think we have one more guy here on this list.
Yeah, we were talking offline about Damari Carroll, and he's interesting because he's got 21 DNPs with the Spurs right now. So I don't know what's going on with him there, but Damari was someone that's been known for his defense. I think he's 6'7", 6'8", a big guy. He's athletic. He makes $7 million this year. So
Yep, he's
I mean, a lot's made of the Spurs never wanting to help the Lakers, but if they could get him, he's a solid option.
Yeah, so he's another guy. He's an older guy. He's a vet. He's never played with LeBron. So I know that the issue with Crowder was, kind of the same issue that people have brought up with Derrick Rose as the backup point guard role. Like whatever that short tenure was with the Cavs, it didn't look like it was good, and so we don't know what to think of it. And it's the same thing with Jay Crowder, right? He was with the Cavs and it didn't look very good, and then they traded him, and all of a sudden they got better, and Crowder got better, that sort of thing. So I can understand why Laker fans are apprehensive about him. But DeMar Carroll, I don't believe has ever played with LeBron, but he also does fit that physical profile that the Lakers want. He's at exactly $7 million. It looks like he was sent to the Spurs in a sign and trade. So again, Lakers could send 2 minimum contracts to go and get him. And like you said, there's probably no incentive for the Spurs to help us out, but at the same time, he's getting paid this year. He's got a guaranteed contract next year, and then he's got an unguaranteed third year where if he gets cut before the guarantee is fully in, they still owe him like $1.57 million dollars. So it's like 7, 7, and 7 is essentially he's got a 3-year 21 or 3-year 21, and they're not playing him.
Nope.
So that just like Markieff, it kind of like you kind of squint at that and go, why are they not playing him when they're paying him this much money? He's the fifth highest player. No, fourth highest player. Sorry. I'm talking over myself. He's the fifth highest player on this team right now. And the Spurs are battling for a playoff spot. They've been playing their young guys. So does he get sent to a different contender? Do the Spurs want to get out of his contract early? Lakers can send, those 2 minimums and get them the salary relief that they need. It probably wouldn't take anything else. It's financial relief for them. So, he's another good option there. So there are options, non-Andre Iguodala options and non-Robert Covington options out there that fit the profile of what it is that the Lakers want. And, we mentioned Covington first, but we've already named 4 guys.
Yep.
Morris in Detroit, Crowder in Memphis, Carroll in San Antonio, and obviously Andre Iguodala in case he shows up. So I know there's been a lot of talk prior to the Dallas and OKC game about moving Kuzma, but it's something that I mentioned at the time. There's just at that contract, it's so hard to move him, and you're not going to get equivalent value back.
Yep.
And I think the Lakers fans may have sort of fallen into a little bit of a trap of devaluing our own guys for the sake of change. Like, because we're frustrated about not seeing Kuzma be consistent, we wanted him out of here. We want a guy that like we feel that we can trust and stuff like that. And I hope that these last 2 games have sort of lowered or tempered some of that excitement to trade him, because I think if we hold on to him and add one of these guys with a minimal kind of salary flip, that'd be super helpful. And remember, if the Lakers trade a 2-for-1, it opens up that extra roster spot for the Andre Iguodala or Darren Collison option. So this is the second part of what we covered. Last week we covered the backup scoring point guards, and then this week we covered the big wings. But in both of those situations, the Lakers can do 2-for-1s to get whoever they want at the trade deadline. And then they can basically use that last spot for whoever gets bought out or it becomes available. So if the Lakers trade for, let's say, Jay Crowder and they send 2 minimums, they don't send Kuzma over, they can then wait for Darren Collison if he actually becomes available. Or if the Lakers turn around and let's say Detroit wants to move off of Derrick Rose, the Lakers could trade for Derrick
Mm-hmm.
Rose, and maybe it costs like an extra second rounder or something. But then they can sign Andre Iguodala
Right.
when he gets bought out. So there's this is going to be a good example, if anything it does happen, of Rob's um, ability to have like a temperature on kind of what moves other teams are making. So it'll be really interesting to see. But I don't think any one person is like the solution. It's there's a lot of different options out there, and in the end, Laker fans have to remember that this is no adding any one of these guys isn't guaranteeing us a championship. Somebody could get hurt. You know, we could completely fall apart.
Yep.
Who knows? Anything can happen. So, if anything, this is just giving us more like known knowns, more guys that we can trust on the roster in tight situations. So that's really what we're trying to do here with all these different moves and these additions.
I think for Lakers fans, I think we've got the second best record in the league, best record on the West Coast, and I think because we're 0-3 in the two games against the Clippers and the one against the Bucks, that Lakers fans are looking for something, looking for someone to come to this roster and help. And
Mm-hmm.
Kuzma's, he's performed in some of those games, so I don't know if he hasn't been really the problem. And so I would hesitate to just trade him, just for the sake of trading him. If you're gonna move him, it really needs to be for something that can help us this year, but not just this year, but maybe can help us next year as well. So I think fans need to kind of step back for a second, look at these last few games, and just when he's given an opportunity, he clearly can provide value to the team. Now, I did talk about this on another podcast, but I wanted to get your opinion to kind of close out this one. Rob Pelinka named Vice President of Basketball Operations. He is in firm control now of the basketball operations for the Lakers. How do you feel about him getting that promotion, and do you feel like it was warranted at this point?
Yeah, I think he was probably sort of an interim VP unofficially for Genie at the time. And I think one of the things that's happened was after Magic's departure, there was a lot of probably decision making and sort of recommendations and stuff like that that Rob and I'm sure the Rambus is provided to Genie. And I think because everything has gone so well, now Lakers have still gotten hurt. Bradley's still gotten hurt. Anthony Davis just recently got hurt, that sort of thing. But they've been compared to like maybe like the past 5 or 6 years, they've been navigating even like their injury situation really well. And I think the fact that there's no drama from this team within the team or anything like that, and B, because things aside from the winning have been smooth. There hasn't been, somebody in the Lakers office said this or all that, there hasn't been leaking and all that sort of stuff. I think Jeannie likes that. And I think Laker fans need to understand Jeannie has nothing like she doesn't want to be involved in like the basketball part of basketball operations. Like Jeannie enjoys I have season tickets, so she sends out emails and stuff like that from time to time. She loves engaging with the fans. She is a super staunch supporter of the franchise. She's a super staunch supporter of all the players that are on the team, and empowering people. This is gonna sound like Genie propaganda, but empowering like the people in the front office and stuff like that. She doesn't want to be part of making basketball decisions. And I think the reason why she brought on Magic was because she trusted him to handle that. But handling the media was not good.
Right.
Magic is my idol, so I'm gonna again be very diplomatic when it comes to this sort of stuff. But I don't think he did. He was a little bit too much of a people pleaser when it came to that situation, and maybe a media pleaser. And it's fine. And I think that kind of worked against him. Rob is more cut from the same cloth as Mitch and how the Lakers always used to operate, which is, if the media asks a question, we'll answer it. But outside of that, we're not engaging with the media in regards to our operations or our personnel moves or free agent moves. So I think it's a good reward for Rob, and I think it was good for the team to know who's behind the curtains, so there's no confusion in regard. And I think it was good for fans, to be honest. Like we've been there was a freaking rumor in the offseason about a shadow player PBO that was running the Lakers.
I
and
remember.
It was just insanity, right? So it's just nice to have some sort of closure in regards to that situation. I think it's well deserved for Rob. And I think now for prospective free agents or guys that may want to join the Lakers, they know exactly who they can go to.
Right.
When it comes to it, it's no texting LeBron or texting AD or whatever it is that people want to say. You know exactly who the GM is. You know exactly who their vice president is. If you're an agent and you want your guy on the Lakers, you know who to reach out to. So I think that's really good for the Lakers. I'm happy for him. He's Kobe's guy. Obviously, we love
Yep.
Kobe, so we're not gonna doubt him. But hey, look, if the Lakers win a championship, all of these moves, trading for AD, giving Rob the promotion, all that sort of stuff is all justified for us. So that's what we're measuring him on. We're measuring him on his ability to get us a championship and basically nothing less.
Yeah, I think we look at what's happened since Rob has been GM. You know, I think Magic was the primary reason that we were able to get LeBron, but Rob clearly was involved. Rob, you know, he did the Anthony Davis trade. He got it done. He hired Frank Vogel. There's been no drama. The team is what 32-7. I mean, everything right now about this team has been great, and I think you have to tip your hat to Rob. And people who said that Jeanie should have went and got a more experienced GM. Well, I do agree that if she was going when she hired Magic, that she should have paired Magic with a more experienced GM. But who's to say Magic would have even listened anyway? I mean, you know, Kobe is my favorite Laker player of all time, but I have a Magic jersey hanging up in the closet right next to me. I mean, Magic's my guy also. I think one of the things that I've grown to appreciate now that Rob is firmly in control is that he's so behind the scenes. Like it's not about him. And I think even if Magic was more behind the scenes, Magic's celebrity he's just too big of a celebrity, I think, to have that kind of job. And he likes to talk. And I think that invited a number of issues. So we're at a point now where you mentioned over the summertime where there were rumors of a shadow GM. There were rumors of the Rambuses running the basketball operations. I mean, people were calling for Jeanie to go after Bob Myers or Masai Ujiri, anybody. They wanted Rob out. And since then, I feel like Rob has made all the right moves. And so Rob now has the title officially. The two younger Bus brothers, they're still right there. And remember over the summer when Ryan West left and everyone was like, "Oh my God, what's going on?"
Yeah. And then I think the news came out that he was like consulting for the Clippers, and they're like, "Oh yeah, see, clearly we're gonna lose him now." And I was just like, "All right, guys, like Jerry left us." I mean, okay, I understand that there was, there was a tiff between maybe Jeanie and Jerry, and maybe that's also the reason why Jerry didn't come back. That's fine. I'm not going to say that doesn't have anything to do with it, but Jerry also left for a better he got bored. Like the Lakers are winning, and so he got bored. So he wanted a challenge. So he went to Memphis, I think is where he went to first. So, and then from Memphis, once he was done there, he got bored. He went to another team, and then now he's with the Clippers. So, like, I understand that there's like, we don't want to lose brain talent, right? We don't want to lose high quality IQ guys. But sometimes, just like regular people like us, we just get tired of where we're at. And we feel like, maybe it's not about the money. I just want a challenge. I don't want complacency. And Ryan West was great. Jerry West was great. But at the same time, the Lakers are still finding great talent. It's not just a one-person decision, Bill Burtka, who's the guy who scouted Kuz, he's still there. Like you mentioned, both the younger Bus brothers are still there. So it's never a one-person thing. And, I think as fans, it was difficult, I think, in the off season, considering what happened with Kawhi and what the Clippers. The fans just need to be a little bit more aware.
Yeah.
And I think they are now that the media is not going to help the Lakers. They do not want to talk about the Lakers unless it's something bad that's happening with the Lakers. They're just not going to. And as you've seen at the beginning of the season, it was all Clippers, 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 Clippers. And then the Lakers come out the gate just dominating teams, and now they're dominating teams even now, and you're not hearing about the Clippers except for when the Clippers beat the Lakers. So, just got to keep it moving and don't fall for the media bait. And like I said, me and you were talking offline, but being active on Lakers Twitter and just kind of calling out the BS when we see it. I feel like it's made for a much better season so far.
I think it has. Like I did a video on YouTube kind of highlighting some of the media's bad takes on the Lakers, and that's my most streamed YouTube video. Like fans see it, and people like you and I try to call it out. And even with the strength of schedule stuff with the Lakers, it was all, well, the Lakers were beating easy teams. Well, now you look at strength of schedule, we have the 5th hardest strength of schedule, and the Bucks have the 28th. You know, it's like there's no talk about the Bucks beating up on weaker teams or anything like that. It's just whenever someone can add the Lakers name into a conversation and downplay the Lakers' success, you know, the media is going to do it. So
the 500 thing is gone now too. So it was all about the Lakers and their record against 500 teams, and now all of a sudden, all I hear from people is, well, you guys are 0-3 against the Bucks and the Clippers. I was like, all right, we're not going to play the Bucks if we get to we're not playing the Bucks until we get the NBA Finals. We don't even know if the Bucks are going to make the NBA Finals. And then the other thing is, oh, you guys are 0-2 against the Clippers. The Clippers are losing to teams that are in the playoffs right now. They may not even make it to the Western Conference Finals. And what's happening is that teams, as it gets closer towards the end of the season, teams are going to try to avoid playing the Lakers in the early rounds. And so, like, I don't get it. You know, I mean, I get it. People just don't like the Lakers. That's why they're doing that. But, you know, it's just a matter of taking it one game at a time, just, you know, being understanding of the situation, and you know, nobody wants us to win. It's fine. We can live with that. That's what it was like for the Lakers. I remember back in 01 or 02 during that three-peat run, even though the Lakers had won a championship, guys like teams like the Sacramento Kings, like they were everybody loved them. When it came to the Portland Trailblazers, everybody loved them. Like, everybody was championing another team over the Lakers. And even the Rockets, when the Rockets had, I think, Yao Ming
and Tracy McGrady,
they were like, oh yeah, this is the guy that's going to stop Shaq. And then, you know, Laker body bag them too. So that's what's going to happen. Anybody but the Lakers. So just, you know, enjoy it. Enjoy being hated, even though we haven't even actually won a championship yet, because it's going to get significantly worse when we do.
That's what this season, and I'll close out on this. This season reminds me of that first three-peat, and you're right. Not that we've won anything yet, but I remember when the Trailblazers were the hot team. I remember when, especially the Kings were unbelievable, and they would beat us in the regular season. But when we got to the playoffs, the Lakers took care of business, and that's what I've told folks now. Clippers are a very good team, but we get in the playoffs, I'm not betting against LeBron and Anthony Davis in the 7-game series. So
yeah, and that coaching staff's amazing. So.
It is, and it's funny. Final thought, but you don't hear anything about Jason Kidd. Remember the rumors that he was going to try to backstab Frank and all this stuff? You hear nothing.
Nothing. And every single time they get an opportunity to speak about Vogel in a public setting or an interview, Kidd has been nothing but actually all the coaching staff has been complimentary of each other. Kidd has been very complimentary that Vogel allows him to do it the way that he wants to do it. Handy has said the same thing. Penberthy has said the same thing. So, like I said, you know, that comparison, I think the last podcast I said that comparison to Phil Jackson's coach that first year coaching that Lakers team, and just kind of how inclusive he is and how he's making sure he keeps the chemistry in the locker room right is very reminiscent this season. And so, you know, I'm enjoying these games one at a time, and we love to see them win. And so, as long as they stay healthy going into the playoffs, I love our chances.
I'm with you on that. Well, we'll close out the pod on that note. I hope everybody enjoyed our conversation on the possible wings the Lakers could target. Vinay, thank you, as always, for coming on. Tell everybody how they can find you.
You can find me at Twitter at VKillem, VKILLEM. And I enjoyed this conversation, as always, Alex. I love bringing context and common sense and conversation, and I hope the Laker fans that listen to this enjoy it as well, because we really want that championship. And the media has really propped up everybody else except the Lakers. So I really want to win that, especially this season, so we can knock them all down in June and July.
Well, I'm with you on that. Make sure you guys are following me on social media at Laker Central 365. You can find me on YouTube now as well under Laker Central. I also stream for sportscaster.com, so check me out there. And make sure you tell everybody, every Laker fan you know about this podcast. Until next time, I'm out.